Don Krieg isn't a name many people care for, or at least according to CBR, but the battle between Sideburn Man and Luffy is great. Oda really takes full advantage of Don Krieg's crazy arsenal, crafting some very suspenseful and engaging combat. I'm currently only in the Alabaster arc, so I'm sure there are many great fights ahead, but I thought it'd be fun to go side by side and see how two different teams tackled this fight, the original from 2000 and the 2017 take. The year is 2000, a time of more relaxed airport security, and Toei needs a team for the climax of the Baratie A arc. And so who better than the Seigasha crew, a group of animators Toei would rely on time and time again to handle their big action scenes. And of no coincidence who also animated the finale to the Arlong arc, which we looked at in the last comparison. And the man selected to direct and storyboard it was Junichi Fujise. He definitely had his fair share of experience when it came to action episodes. I mean, the man has credits on over 80 episodes of Dragon Ball Z, and that's not including the movies in GT, so not a bad pick. On the 2017 side, well, we'll get to them. Let's start. Now, composition. Excellent. Oda's positioning of Don Krieg at the end of the mast is great. His position matches the monologue he's giving about being the strongest. He's above everyone, figuratively and literally. But Fujise is like, hey, let's go even further and extend that mast way out, chuck the sun behind him and have the clouds swirling around. Now, outside of making the focal point really clear through all those extra elements, it adds even further to that higher position of power. Now for the Bazooka attack. The 2017 take is centered more around the element of surprise. So in the storyboard by Hiroyuki Sato, it hides stuff. Like Luffy's arms are kept off screen until the big hit. Don Krieg's expression portrays him as initially the victor, excludes the reaction shot, and the cut length is very short and snappy, so you only realize Luffy's okay just at the last second. Whereas the original take is a bit more dramatic. The run up to Krieg is much longer. We see Luffy fully retract his arms. He yells the attack out. Krieg's expression is instead shocked, telling us something is about to happen. And the overall length of these cuts is longer. And honestly, both approaches are great. Both have their strengths. No complaints. But for the actual hit, there are some things one does better than the other. Much in the theme of drama, there's a background switch in the original to this glowing white. A little more interesting in terms of framing the importance of the moment compared to the newer take, and the posing is much looser, a bit stiff in comparison here. And regarding the rest of the art in the 2017 take, a lot of nicely detailed close-ups as well. However, the rougher touch in the original with all the hatching and whited out eyes comes off a little more intense. Now on the animation side, I do appreciate that Krieg's fallback is actually animated by hand in the 2017 take, instead of just taking a single drawing, scanning it in, setting a motion path and have software spin him around. And there's little details like Krieg's beard hair being animated instead of, I guess, yeah, nothing. I appreciate it. Now after that, we got explosions going off everywhere. I really wish I knew who animated this cut in the newer take, because man, those are some detailed effects. The 2000 take might not be as detailed, but makes up for it by having a chain explosion rather than everything going off at once. Honestly, I kind of prefer that choice a little more, and the storyboard does a slightly better job, I think, of giving a stronger sense of scale, but both takes do it justice. Now, indulging in the mystery game of who animated this, my guess, as well as the previous cuts we just went over, is Kazuya Hisada. Smears are pretty similar, and there are some of those spaced out speed lines, and for the effects, there's like that little triangle shape he adds before an explosion. The smoke effects as well look very similar in terms of the shape design and shading, and I know some might default to Masahiro Shimanuki, considering effects animation is his forte, but thing is, he already did some cuts earlier and will come back later, I think. And usually Shimanuki loves chucking a lot more debris everywhere, so I don't think it is. And on top of that, Hisada was very adept himself when it came to cool effects work, so yeah, bets on him. Anyways, Luffy isn't done smashing things. So the 2017 version is pretty nice, a zoom up on the eye, then quite a strong hit, great. The 2000 take is fine, but the hit feels a little bit less weighty in comparison. And once again, we're back to dragging drawings across the screen, but this time it feels more like the rotate transition out of PowerPoint. Credits though to the posing, it's much more dynamic, and by having Luffy's legs like coming out here and here, it gives further depth. Like with the classic cylinder example, if you have it on the side like this, it feels flat, but by having it come towards us, gives the illusion that there's all this space around. It comes off a lot more three-dimensional. Now for some net action. In the 2017 take, there's some cool camera work, but the way Luffy flings Krieg around really does feel like something rapidly unwinding. It gives a lot of momentum behind the final hit. In the 2000 take, on the other hand, perhaps not as energetic into the lead up, but it's fun enough. Although my main thing is more so the heavy reuse of animation. We see these two cuts used about, 6 or 7 times? A little repetitive, and being very much in the nature of TV anime, trying to fill that runtime, it is dragged on for a bit. In the manga, it takes about 3 pages to slam Krieg into the ship. The new version, it takes about 3 seconds, and here it's about 30. And that's not including the ad break chucked in between. Now with saying that, I am a little surprised as to why they cut out the part in the manga of Krieg's men trying to shoot Luffy down and Sanji taking them out. I mean, besides from a cool moment, it could have filled in some time and broke up that repetition. The new take does remove it as well, but to be fair, the staff had an entirely different challenge in its case, as they had to cram over 20 chapters into about a 30-minute episode, so makes sense there. And some other minor differences to the manga in both was placing Luffy in the sky when he takes down Krieg, instead of being just above the water for the Grand Slam. However, the final blow is hard to beat. I mean, when it comes to heavy hits, this team is pretty experienced with beatings. And in classic Seigasha style, you've got a hold on the key pose, flickering speed lines, and the timing on ones. It's an economic use of drawings, but also delivers in impact. And speaking of impact, the choice to keep in Krieg's expressions rather than just covering it up with smoke does go a little further in making for a more intense finish. As to who animated it, well, Tate, Shimanuki, and Hisada all sort of animated blows in the same way, but if I had to guess, Nuki in this era had a bit of a thing for handling the climax to fights, like with the Island Eater and Arlong, so I wouldn't be surprised if this was him too. And once again, I have to hand it to the storyboard and drawings. Like, look at this great pose. It feels much more like Krieg is pulling something down. There's all this applied force sweeping into his shoulder, and you can see there's this nice flow to everything. Much better. But anyways, yeah, to the summary. So overall, both versions do the defeat of the Don justice. However, I would say the strength to the original take is mainly with the art and composition, while the newer take is much more animated and sticks much more to the pacing of the manga. But yeah, that's all I had to say. Please check out Fandom Eon for some One Piece swag. Use the code RELICS for a 10% discount. Also, thanks to my patrons. Please consider going over there to support the channel. But with that, thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.